Let's see if it works. It says live in the corner. So I think we're up and at 'em. But yeah, this is Radical Self-Respect with Jared Mello. I included in the channel description the reason why I'm having Eric from the Secret Code podcast on today, because money is important. Money is not everything, but it can certainly solve some issues that cause unhappiness for sure. And there's also one thing for certain. Money isn't everything, but it does determine how you spend the majority of your time. Like how much you have and how you make it determines a lot. So in my own life, I want to have freedom of my time. I want to be able to do more of what I really want to do with life. I don't want to have to be tied to something, to trade my time for money. Trying not to do that. So I wanted to have Eric on today because he knows more about Secret Network, and I have my money where my mouth is in Secret Network. And I'm hoping there's big things that are going to come with it. But we're going to get more in depth about it today. So I'm going to see here if I can also share this link while it's up. But how are you today, Eric? I don't mean to keep you on ice over there.
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So it looks like I can share this here. So I can create a post, and I can copy this link and put it in the Telegram there. All right. So, but without further delay here, so you have a podcast. It's called the Secret Code Podcast, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And how long have you been doing that for?
So we just got started kind of early July. So we've had 4 episodes. We just recorded our 5th, and we're doing 1 episode per week. But we've been doing it for about a month, and the success has been good, better than we expected initially, and we're growing faster than we had hoped. So far, all things are good. Trying to keep the content coming at a sustainable pace and keep it at a high enough quality to keep people listening and coming back.
Cool. And so what's the purpose and mission of your podcast there?
So we noticed as a community, which you're involved in, I'm involved in, we're in Telegram groups and Discords, that there's not really a lot of content focused on our own ecosystem, like especially from a podcast standpoint. We have podcasts, we have guests and whatnot, but when we host guests on our shows, it's usually geared towards them. So making our audience more aware of external projects and external developments. And when we have our people on other shows, it's usually to give them the same brief overview to other audiences. But we don't really get to go in depth into all of the various assets of the gigantic decentralized ecosystem that is the Secret Network. And so we were hoping we could really be a for the community, by the community content creation, where we can dive in depth and reach all the different facets from development, from growth, from awareness, from education, and hear all the other people that are actively working on this, this is their job and this is where their money and their time is, hear their perspectives, their sides, what they're excited about, and not only grow awareness for ourselves, but also an understanding that can help us as a community reach out and answer questions as we onboard, as we grow.
I think that's super important because as people find projects, they have tons of questions. And a podcast like yours is a great resource for people to learn a lot and hear someone talking about it. Because for me, when I hear people talking about it, it's so much easier to consume than me having to dig on my own through the white paper, dig on my own through subreddits and through Telegram groups. But hearing you talk about it, it's going to open up a lot of people's eyes and ears to what's going on with this. And in this show here, I'm hoping I want to do the basics. I want to do some intermediary and then into whatever in-depth stuff we can get to, because I think it's all important, right? It's all important. So I guess what I'm curious about first is, like, what brought you to the crypto world in general?
Okay, so I still have a day job. I'm not one of the people that's been in crypto since Bitcoin was $1. So I'm a table games dealer. And as a dealer in 2017, a bunch of my friends were talking about their stocks and their crypto, and I'm one of the young guys out there, and like, yeah, I want to get involved in investing. I just started my 401k with a little match, and I'm like, sure, I'm finally have a decent job. Let's see what we can do. And one of the guys talked about Omise Go, OMG, and how his brother was investing heavily in that, and so he was going to pick some up and see where it goes. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll try it out. And as I researched it, I'm like, what is this crypto thing? What is Bitcoin? I don't really know what any of this is. I barely heard about it. And I just started diving in, and the idea was fascinating. Like, why can't we transfer value on the internet? Why is the internet only made efficient for marketing and not for anything else? Like, why is it only advertisements that generate revenue? It seems so inefficient. And so where I guess the idea of a new internet based on what Bitcoin's proposition is, a new monetary system based on what Bitcoin's representation is, was fascinating. So I dove in every white paper I could, and the scary fact that all of this awesomeness that's going to be created is going to keep all of our data public on an immutable blockchain really scared me. Like, that doesn't make sense. It's not practical. And so that's how I kind of found the Enigma white paper while I was doing all this research in 2017, because I think they wrote it a year or two before, and they were having their ICO. And just the fact that they were the only one I could find focused on data privacy, which really seemed like the only way that any of this could work.
Sure. So Bitcoin's basically digital gold. And then Ethereum, they're starting to do things with smart contracts. And then the next layer from there would be something that Secret Network does, which is programmable private smart contracts, right? So maybe we could talk a little bit about first what exactly that is and what exactly that may look like one day.
Okay. So one example I like to use, you're kind of walking this through like it's an evolution, which I think is absolutely accurate. Bitcoin created the transfer of value for a distributed ledger, which is a ledger, think of like an Excel spreadsheet or like a receipt that's distributed. A bunch of people have access to this receipt, but you can now send people money through this receipt, and everybody has it, and everybody can prove that. And that's cool. But that's only one application. That's money. What if you want to do anything else on that? And so Excel, as an example, has lots of usage. And Ethereum came out and figured out how to actually propagate formulas into the individual cells. So now they can set math problems where or put in equals 2 plus 2 and it's going to spit out 4. Like, now you can do more. Instead of just transferring value, now you can transfer equations and triggers, which can set up entire mechanisms, entire like robots that will govern things efficiently, provably accurately, and on its own. Like, it saves manpower, it saves risk of everybody having access to all your data and whatnot. Except the issue is anyone can look into the cell, anyone can see these formulas, anybody can manipulate it. Once they find out, oh, he wants to sell house when price is this, let's manipulate the price, sell the house. And that's basically it doesn't make sense. Everything that Ethereum makes possible is huge developments, but doesn't make sense in the real world for application. And that's where this next generation, this next evolution of blockchain comes in with Secret Network, because now they're like, okay, Ethereum made all this possible. Now we're going to make this pragmatic. Like, we're going to make this so it gets to a point where we can get industrial evolvement, like where smart contracts are actually propagated and used by big companies, because they're not going to put all their big data out there. They already have to worry about corporate espionage. Like, they're not just going to be like, now anybody can hack us. Anybody can know all of our information and whatnot from their mother's basement at home. Like, they will only use this. They will only adapt if it makes sense for them. And Secret Network's creating that.
Right. So a lot of people are building on Ethereum right now. And is that just because they're the simplest? So most exchanges, they deal with what they call ERC20 tokens, right? And it's the easiest to accommodate. And is that the reason why a lot of these other companies or other crypto projects are building on top of Ethereum first? Is it just out of convenience, do you know, or?
Ethereum, they have the benefit of being the first smart contract platform. Bitcoin has the benefit of being the first transfer of value platform. Since Bitcoin's creation, Bitcoin was the first blockchain. There have been tons, and most blockchains at this point are faster than Bitcoin, are more efficient than Bitcoin, have lower fees than Bitcoin. But the fact that Bitcoin was the first, that it's the most distributed, that it has the most power securing its network, like, that's always going to mean something. Because why every time some new technology comes out that's slightly better, is that going to be the new monetary system? You only really need one actual currency. And that's why you get a lot of Bitcoin maxis, we call them in this space,
Yes.
where they're like, oh, well, it's Bitcoin, it's nothing. We don't need anything else. Bitcoin solves everything. It doesn't. They do need more things. The technology will exist and will grow whether Bitcoin succeeds or fails, even though they're tied together pretty intimately for the time being. But Ethereum really has that benefit of being the first smart contract platform, of being the first to gain people developing, and the fact that they have the largest community, which gives them the most clients and API tools to help build all the apps. The fact that people know about them helps. But we're seeing a shift to more people developing on Binance Smart Chain. Even though it's more centralized, it's a lot cheaper and faster. People are now building on Polygon, which is an L2 on Ethereum right now, because the fees are lower, because Ethereum gets so bogged down and it's so inefficient in its current iteration that it's not practical. And I really think that as people realize that their applications aren't going to succeed, as lawsuits come out because of the data that's being made public and how it's being used, eventually that transfer is going to be to Secret Network, and then maybe any competition if they eventually get some. Right now, they're the only ones that have figured out how to make private by default smart contracts.
Now that seems like a good segue then into, like, what is your elevator pitch or speech for Secret Network and what they're trying to do when you tell your friends or just people about it?
So I've actually onboarded a lot of friends and family that previously had no coins and weren't interested in crypto. And I pretty much did go through that spiel about the Excel spreadsheet of how the evolution from Bitcoin to Ethereum, what that means, and then the upcoming evolution from Ethereum to Secret Network and what that makes possible. And it really, nobody outside of the crypto space even questions it. It makes so much sense to people, like, oh yeah, I wouldn't use Ethereum. Like, oh, that's cool, but yeah, I wouldn't do that if I was a business. But when they're in this space, they're just so blinded. But it's worth so much more money. Secret Network can't be real because the price is down. I'm going to buy it once it's gone up 100 times. And that's what happens. Nobody believed in Ethereum when it was $80 a year and a half ago. Now it's $2,500, and this is very secure, and we need it.
So you touch on something very important here, because right now there's a lot of value in the space that's not really tied to real world value. It's like, Bitcoin's valuable because people say it's valuable. There's money in it. Ethereum is valuable right now because people say it's value. There's money in it. It's got the potential to do a lot more. I know they got that EI 1559 thing that just came out, and they have all the stuff they're doing with smart contracts, but it still hasn't really been brought into the real world. Like, there's a couple cryptos like BAT, for example. They're doing something with the real world right now in Brave browser, but it's going to be an interesting time to see when the value actually starts to correlate, when there's actually crypto being used practically, not just as a store of value, not just pure speculation, not meme coins like Doge or whatever other nonsense, because that kind of stuff does give the crypto space slightly a bad name. When Elon Musk can just make a tweet and then boom, Doge goes to the moon. And what is the Doge? Does nothing. Like, Doge is just a meme coin. So there's going to be a transition. I think there's going to be a couple different transitions, really. There's going to be a transition of when Bitcoin's finally not number one and something else takes its place. Maybe it's Ethereum first, the old flippening, right? And then there'll be the transition of when things actually start to get used in the space. And I think Secret, they have lined themselves up pretty nicely here to take advantage of that part of the space. And what drove me to Secret Network in the beginning was I heard they had all those troubles with the SEC. And I want to ask you about that too in a second. But they were Enigma. They got kind of caught up with the SEC. And it was something about they were being considered a security, right? And Enigma had to fight through it. They had to fight, and they've rebranded, created Secret Network. Tor Bear is the founder. Is that what he's called, the founder?
He's the founder of the Secret Foundation. They're one group. I mean, there is no Secret Network company. It really is a decentralized ecosystem of multiple teams. But the Secret Foundation, as far as I understand it, and with my interactions with them, they oversee kind of connections between developments. They oversee a certain amount of financing, like grants. So my podcast actually received an upfront grant to help get started, to cover the costs of getting this content out, to become self-sustainable later on. But the Secret Network as a whole really is decentralized. Nobody owns it. You own voting power based on how much secret you have.
Okay. And so I liked Secret because the fact that they were able to make it through all that means to me they got tested. They got hardened in the process. They had to learn more. They persevered. And now here they are on the other side. What happened to them already is something that may happen to other cryptos too down the line. But Secret, they are ahead of the curve with that. And let's see here. What else do I want to discuss with you before we get into the nuts and bolts here? So there's Secret Network right now, and they also have a CeFi token, it's called. That involves governance, correct? So maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
So the CeFi token is the governance token for a real-world dApp, the right now prominent decentralized application on the Secret Network, and that's the Secret Swap. So this is a decentralized exchange. If you guys are familiar, audience, if you're familiar with Ethereum, it would be similar to Uniswap or SushiSwap. And so Secret would be an equivalent of ETH. and CeFi would be an equivalent of the Uni token. So it is a governance token that, although the governance application for it is really cool because it's built with private smart contracts, it's actually the first ever on-chain private voting system where it's provably accurate. The code is open source, provably authentic. It can't be manipulated or faked, but you also, like, nobody can see which way you vote. Nobody can see even how many people have voted until quorum is reached. And even then, it just shows what percentage and what the total votes are. Nobody actually has access to which wallet voted which direction, which is really breakthrough technology with the implications it can have in the future, especially as we try to make elections and whatnot more legitimized or at least trusted.
Right.
So
that was going to be my next question, actually. What is an example of something that people would be voting on?
It's a great question. So I think we've had 4 propositions not reach quorum, get to the tallying stage. So it's a 7-day process from when something's posted on governance. And then anyone can vote whenever they want to. All you have to pay is the gas fee for it to go through, which is like 20 cents or whatnot. You can vote yes on the proposal or no. And then if after 7 days, 5 different wallets, I think 3 of them have to get together and like pretty much flip a switch on so that the tally goes through. And it will, if 33% of the staked CeFi token have voted on the proposal, then it will have reached quorum, and it will say it either passed with what percentage or it failed with what percentage. And if the 33% isn't reached, it just fails and says didn't reach quorum. And we don't know how the voting breakdown works out. So to this point, 4 have been tallied, 2 of which did not reach quorum and 2 of which did and did actually pass. So the 2 things that have been voted in so far are to lower the cashback mechanism, which is pretty much a reward for traders, which pretty much actually covers the fee for the trading fee. So Secret Swap, like most dexes, has a 0.3% transaction fee, which doesn't go to a team per se, because there is no team like a Binance team or a Coinbase company that's operating the exchange, but it goes to the liquidity providers, people who are saying like, I have this asset, and you can buy from me and you can sell to me. But because there's no actual order book run from a team, that's like, there has to be somewhere you can buy and sell from. And so they'll earn those fees.
Okay. Because I wasn't even too familiar how cashback even worked. Because that's it's a relatively recent thing that they started this, right? Like maybe in the last month or 2?
Yeah. So that's going to be lowered, and I can get into that more if you want. But the other thing that went through that I'm personally excited about is they went forward with the CeFi Executive Committee. And we're like, oh, we finally got governance. Now we need more oversight. What that means is there's going to be a 5-person committee, which, to my understanding, I'm actually going to be a part of, which is I'm excited about. Cool. We're going to help, because if something goes through and it's like, hey, execute this, like, hey, we want this to be done, it doesn't automatically trigger development. Like, there has to be funding to go through. And so there has to be some kind of entity that can be like, okay, this passed, we need to get this done. And so the CeFi Executive Committee, as I understand it, will actually be able to hire out developers with a certain amount of funding for the dev pool that's already pre-specified, and pretty much get built what the community decides to build. And so that team is going to be 2 people from the Enigma team on it, 1 person from the CeFi Foundation, and then me in Iowa, I believe, who's the Secret Swap committee lead, as the 2 community chairs.
Okay. So to rewind here a little bit, I want to discuss a little bit how they can even find secret network right now anyway. Because especially for people in America, that actually could be easier said than done. So right now it's on Binance International, right? But what are some of the other ways people can actually buy secret network?
So the safest way for people in the United States, which I'm from the United States, and I understand that it's frustratingly difficult to access, especially with Enigma being founded in the United States from MIT, at least the idea of it, even though the development's primarily in Israel. But you could go on SushiSwap, you can go on Uniswap. I'm not sure if it's on PancakeSwap right now, but at least on those Ethereum-based dexes, it's WSCRT for Wrapped Secret. And then you can go through the bridge, which is bridge.scrt.network. And then you can move not only Wrapped Secret, but also Ethereum or Wrapped Bitcoin or tons of other supported ERC20 assets, and wrap them in secret contracts. And then you can operate with them on the Secret Swap. You can use them in more DeFi applications that are built on the Secret Network. I know we've got a lot more cool stuff coming out and more bridges. There's a Binance Smart Chain bridge. Monero bridge is about to come out. So now Monero people can get involved in DeFi. Harmony, Terra, like a lot of stuff's being built.
I want to get into the bridges in a second too. So, but I'm not even aware of this part. So, because I've never actually used Wrapped Secret. So you have Wrapped Secret. what's the process of getting it into the secret blockchain and being able to trade it just and like put it on your Kepler wallet, because that's the desktop wallet
So
for secret.
the top wallet for secret right now is Kepler, Keplr, which you could download as a browser extension the same way you download MetaMask. And the top wallet for Ethereum is MetaMask. And those are the two right now that will default connect through the bridge. So what you do is, if you have Wrap Secret, if you have Ethereum that you want to liquidity provide with, or make a privacy coin where you can send people secret Ethereum for less fees and with more privacy, you would go to bridge.secrt.network. You'll auto connect your MetaMask and your Kepler wallet, and you'll go on the left-hand side and say, like, from your MetaMask, what token do you like? What blockchain? Okay, ERC20 or Ethereum blockchain. All right, which token? WSCRT. Okay, default address in Kepler. You'll click connect. You'll have to pay the gas fee, which I think the switch to secret will be a gas fee in Ethereum. The switch to Ethereum will be a gas fee in secret. So for a while, it was really expensive just because the gas fees in Ethereum were really expensive. Secret network is much cheaper. But you'll just click it and you can watch the transactions go. It'll show how many confirmations, and then poof, it's in your Kepler wallet. It's actually really user-friendly.
Okay, good. Because I've heard people say that they were having troubles with it. So I think it's good to be able to explain it to people, how it works, so that there's not going to be any surprises. Which also reminded me of another thing before we get into the bridges. What would you tell people the difference is between a Monero and a secret network? Because I bet you people can conflate those two.
That's an excellent question, especially because secret network, especially with its name, really get thrown together with all privacy coins. And this is just like a privacy sector. And secret network, yes, the focus is privacy, but they go about it through such a different and unique way compared to every other privacy coin I'm familiar with, in that those other privacy coins focus on transactional privacy, meaning that they're trying to hide who sends how much money to whom. So really, it's looking like at Bitcoin, the transfer of value, and trying to privatize the transfer and the value. Whereas secret network is much like that next evolution, the Ethereum, where the secret coin itself is actually public. If I send you some SCRT, that can be seen on an immutable blockchain. We're really actually trying to go above and beyond to not be banned from exchanges and not be lumped into shadowy supercoders and that kind of thing. So the blockchain itself is public, but it's the smart contracts that are private. So now you're looking at if people are creating an Aave or some kind of decentralized lending application or a decentralized launchpad, which is currently being built. Now the fundraising for that, the contracts that go into that, movement of those kind of things, liquidity provision, more of those kind of things are actually going to be private instead of just transferring value. And since you can have tokens on the secret network, which would be a SNP20, the equivalent of an ERC20 on secret or on Ethereum, now sending those kind of things is going to be masked and be more like a privacy transactional value. But that's just honestly one byproduct of what secret network offers.
Okay. Well, I think things like the government, they would be happier to be able to see the transactions, but not what's in the smart contracts. Because I think a lot of governments are very leery, I guess, of things like Monero for that reason, because it's the private transactions. But if it's just the smart contracts, I think that helps Secret's cause. But what do you think?
It absolutely does, and especially if people are worried like, oh, well, using these smart contracts, you could really get into money laundering. Anyone can use any technology for bad things, but secret network is actually, like, instead of looking at it as programmable privacy, which it is often described as, it's actually more default privacy, programmable transparency. So especially with a new upgrade coming out in September, you're going to be able to create full viewing keys that show your transactions with your SNP20s, and you can only do it for your own interactions. So you can't invade on anybody else's privacy, but you can then create those and give those tax documents to your tax professionals, your CPAs, and be like, this is all my stuff. Like, I'm very much out public. Like, I'm doing everything by the books and still enable the future of the internet. Sure. One cool stat is, I think, $2 trillion per day of user data is transacted upon. It's the largest, like the single largest marketplace of any commodity, just end user data. And that's all our information. That's all our money that we're not getting because it's just sold for free. We don't even have an option of paying $17 a year for Facebook for it to not steal your data. No matter what, you have to do it for free. And if something's free, then you're the product. And I want in the new internet that will be built, us to get that back, us to have ownership. If we want to sell it, then cool, we'll make the profits for it.
No, that all makes sense to me. Certainly makes sense. And So you mentioned before the bridges here too. What would you say, like, to the person who's a novice? What do these bridges do? What do they help people accomplish? Because there's going to be a bridge from secret to Luna. There's going to be a bridge from Monero to secret, and there's already one from Ethereum to secret. But what's the point and purpose of these bridges?
I think of these different smart contract platforms as kind of different domains. Like, think of if there was a crossover episode between two different shows. And you have like The Simpsons on Family Guy or something. Well, if Ethereum is The Simpsons and Secret is Family Guy, then you might have some characters over on a different show, but you still know whose show it is. Like, it's still going to be the Family Guy scene. It's still going to be their city of Quahog. Whereas if the Family Guy's people go to Simpsons, it's still going to be their scene. And that's kind of what it does. I think a lot of people were hoping that when there was an Ethereum secret bridge, that all of a sudden you can use Ethereum applications like completely privately. It doesn't work that way because those are still built on Ethereum. They're still built in the Solidity language. But it allows people with Ethereum to use that money and that value on the secret network ecosystem. And it allows people that are on the secret network ecosystem to bridge across and use their value and their money to involved on the Ethereum ecosystem and anything that's supported. I think in the long run, it's going to be more valuable to do stuff on secret because I think it's more pragmatic, but it enables people to access to whatever's built in these different domains and these different show areas.
So I'm pretty boring with this stuff. I just buy secret, stake secret. We'll get into that too, staking and LP, liquidity providing. But what's an example of something someone would do? So you have your value in secret network. What would you do on Ethereum with your value from secret? Or what would you do with your value from secret on Luna at some point? I'm not even sure I understand this really.
So I'm actually really excited about the Luna and Terra bridge. And Luna itself is a super cool project. So more generically, what you can do on Ethereum is you can wrap some of your assets up, go over to Ethereum, and then maybe get involved in Aave or get involved in decentralized lending and earn set rewards there. Or maybe there's an application or a game built on Ethereum, or you want to go on OpenSea and you have to bid on an NFT and you have to do it on that platform, which there are NFTs on Secret Network and there will be platforms there eventually too. But that would be a way you could go back and forth. If somebody who's primarily invested in Ethereum wants to take place in an ICO coming up on the Secret Network and use a secret launchpad, then they can wrap their stuff over here. And since the ICO is on this platform, now they can use it. Or potentially, people might even be able to contribute to the fundraising, to the ICO from multiple different platforms because the bridges exist. So the team might actually get rewards from the Binance Smart Chain, from the Ethereum Smart Chain, and from the Secret Smart Chain, which just enables more contributions, more fundraising, which is kind of neat.
Okay, that all makes sense. So right now with Secret, people normally stake their secrets. I want to maybe explain some of that process because Secret's not the only token, of course, that you can stake. But what is staking?
So staking is an alternative to mining. So audience, you might be familiar with Bitcoin mining or you've heard the term, and that's pretty much a whole bunch of computers putting their energy to work, and by hashing power, by overall power being contributed, energy being contributed and spent on Bitcoin mining, it secures the network and it creates each new block, which keeps the blockchain going, and they get the reward for it as each new block's discovered. And that's just kind of how the inflation takes place and how the blockchain continues. Now, you might have heard that some people think that it's not eco-friendly, or Bitcoin's like shutting the world down, or Elon Musk saying it's not sustainable enough, so we're going to stop taking it from Tesla, even though Bitcoin is by far more using green tech than anything else. But it's still easier for a proof of stake system where instead of all the computing power being used and whoever contributes and gets that reward gets the blockchain, instead it's more of a setting up steady interest for everybody who's locking their tokens up. So you can actively use this value to stake it to pretty much put in a savings fund with less of a lockup than anything else you can get heavy rewards on. I think right now, Secret Network, the rewards are like 25, 26% per year, whereas in a savings account, it's like 0.02% per year. Right. Or if you were to get something at 6%, you might have to lock your funds up for 6 months or a year. Here, you have to lock it up for 21 days.
So right now, for example, I think it's like 30%, but after the validator's fee, it turns into like 25%, like you said. And so I bet you a lot of people would think, who are not used to crypto, and they'll think, well, that's just too good to be true. You're going to get just 25% for staking however much money you put in there, and you get it no matter what. Because and this is the other thing I want to talk about. So secret's inflationary, which is, it goes hand in hand with this staking. So maybe you could also explain, how is it profitable to be inflationary? Because when I was first learning about secret, I was like, what the hell is this? Inflationary, and I couldn't quite put my head around how it's going to be working out. So maybe you could describe some of that there.
That is an excellent question. And this whole industry is flooded with new game theory ideas from economists or wannabe economists who want to figure out, how does supply and demand work? How can we make an economy more efficient than the garbage one we've inherited? It's something that actually makes sense and works. And so they've gone about it in different ways. Bitcoin has a maximum supply, so it's not inflationary. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin, or I think 5 less than that. But other tokens like Ethereum are inflationary. And so in order for the value or price of it to go up, if that's even always the goal, would be for more demand than supply increase. So I've been talking with some other people going over game theory in the telegrams, and some of them said, well, there is like value gain in inflation, but technically by itself, all inflation does is increase supply and capture the same value. So it would technically, if no new value is gained, only deflate the price slowly. So we've actually seen that kind of with Secret in particular, because it's difficult to access. The price has gone substantially lower. It's not even in the top 100 coins, even though it's offering such a novel and fantastic use case that's absolutely imperative. I find that a unique opportunity, but it is an issue with high inflation and low buy-side pressure. But as there becomes more buy-side pressure, as we have governance to do things, we can eventually enact things that burn tokens. We can choose to lower inflation. And inflation will automatically lower from 15% that is currently at to 7% as more tokens are staked.
So what does that even mean? So there's 15% per year of inflation, which means 15% is being added on to the circulating supply? Or the total supply?
To the total supply, yes. And the reason the staking rewards are higher than that is because that 15% is divided amongst only those coins that are staking. Right now, we're at about 49-50% bonded rate, which, and this is common for all the Cosmos SDK tokens, which are anything built on Cosmos, Binance, the Cosmos token, Osmosis, Terra, Luna. Most of these blockchains just stuck with the default. Some of them have changed it slightly, but the default is a range from 7 to 15% inflation. The less coins that are bonded, the higher the inflation is, which incentivizes more tokens to onboard. And once you're at the maximum amount of kind of coins onboarded, which is the minimum amount of inflation, it'd be 7% distributed amongst more people. Right. So like the Cosmos inflation is 7%, and so the people staking get 10% because like 80 or 85% is bonded.
So part of that staking that people get, it comes from the 15% that's added. But if, say, for example, I think right now about half of Secret's value is locked, the TVL they call it. But say if that went to 3/4, we would probably see the percentage go down to, say, what, like 20%-ish, maybe lower?
Lower. So yeah, right now it's at 30% before taxes, and any taxes, it's not like state taxes. It's through our own governance. We've voted on self-taxes to create community pools to fund a secret foundation to work on listings and oversee projects and whatnot. So we've self-imposed taxes, which we can vote out whenever we want. We've got our own governance. But as bonding rate went from 50% to, say, 75%, it's not taking that 15% now and dividing it, or kind of doubling it, dividing it by 0.5 for the 50%. Now you're taking 7% and dividing it by 3/4. So now you're looking at more like 11-12%.
Interesting.
Rewards.
So right now, for example, so we have all the delegators, and when we stake to a delegator, it charges us 5% commission, right? And that goes to the validators.
It can. The commission rates are different per validator. There are
5 to 10.
We're working on our own node right now. Ours is going to be 5%, but there are some, anywhere from 0 to 10.
Okay. And so the tax that you're talking about, though, that's different than the fee that would go to the validators. So how would that get determined at the end? Or how does someone pay that? Does it happen automatically, or is it something that people have to do?
It happens automatically.
Okay, well, that's better, because people wouldn't want to have to mess with something they actually had to manually do.
So from the actual inflation, like there's just an automatic redirect of like 2% for community pool and 15% for secret foundation before anything
Okay.
else comes in. And then what comes in, the automatic whatever the commission is for the validator, because we're going to have our own costs. It's expensive to run our own node, and it takes time and upkeep and energy. So they'll get a certain percentage to keep them sustainable, and then whatever shows up in your wallet is whatever's left, which you're still looking at 26% after all that.
That's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I hear Tor, he keeps on talking about is layer 3, or how does he say it? Something about there's going to be a third layer of stuff going down in the crypto world, and that's what secret's going to be on top of. And maybe I'm saying it wrong, but what does he normally say? Something about the number 3.
I believe you're referring to Web3.
Yeah, I think that's it, yes.
And so that's the idea of a new internet. Right now, the internet that you and me are used to is considered Web 2.
Okay.
So the first web would be more similar to the actual just Tor running in the background. But then we combined it. We made it one nice common interface using the World Wide Web, .com and everything. And that made everything a much easier interface where you can use a Google browser or something and access all these websites that are under a similar format. And so Web3 would be the next iteration of the internet, which is theorized but actively being built, where you can transfer value. Now you have access to it through things like MetaMask and Kepler right there on your Chrome. And so Google Chrome and Brave would be considered ways to access Web3. But the idea of a Web3 stack, which I think you said a lot, is using multiple platforms that are actually being built, most of which in the blockchain community, to combine their ideas and their tech to create a new seamless internet that enables transfer of value and ownership of data.
Interesting. Because I was always wondering what that meant, and I never knew. So I wanted to make sure I asked you that. But what else here? So Secret in general right now, they're in a really decent position. And I think one thing that also holds people up from becoming more involved in Secret is some of the FUD that you hear out there. So there was the FUD of the token swap back in the day between Enigma to Secret. So maybe you could address some of that right now, because I know I've mentioned Secret in places like ETH Finance. And unfortunately, the majority of people just say, they screwed people over with a token swap. So maybe we could address this here too. I hear what happens sometimes is people get upset. People get upset in the Telegram, or I've heard the mods in the Telegram, people left because of them. So I don't think any of that's good. But let's talk about alleviating people's fears from that FUD.
So you're right that Secret, you mentioned earlier, has a fantastic community, and we're very helpful and honest and transparent and cohesive. And we have been through a lot, and that's one of the reasons the price reflects it. And a lot of people will call what happened a scam. That is absolutely not the case. And if anybody has concerns, join our Telegrams, join our Discord. We don't get offended. We do tell things exactly what happened and are there to understand it. We've had more of this resurface as the Monero bridge gets ready, as some people who are in Monero feel like they got hurt or scammed by Secret. That's not what happened. So what happened is in 2017, when Enigma had their ICO, like hundreds or thousands of other tokens did, they issued a new token, they raised their money, and for some reason, Enigma in particular, they didn't do anything different. All they actually did was make their data, make their resources more available for the SEC, because they foresaw it becoming an issue in the future, because this was novel territory. People didn't really know how this was going to be governed because it's new tech. It's not written in the laws. So they wanted to proactively be ready for it. And whether it was that because it was easier for the SEC, or whether it was some kind of random targeting where they're like, we're going to pick one and go after them, they didn't do anything differently, but they got targeted by the SEC and deemed as a security. So the ENG tokens at this point were now securities, which people didn't really have the authority to trade, which weren't really supposed to be listed on these exchanges, which all of this was new, and none of these tokens had been in a security before. So Enigma's hands were tied, and they could fight it, and they could pay large legal expenses, but you're looking at 8-10 years of litigation and expenses while they can't build, they can't use the money they've raised and whatnot. So they took the buyout, they were fined $500,000, and they reimbursed a lot of the people that were involved in the ICO, people who reached out to sell their coins that were able to get refunds for this investment. But their hands were tied. There was nothing they could do. Some community members were like, look, this technology still needs to be built. Like, this is still imperative. We can't just throw away everything we've worked on and built. Like, this is a niche that needs addressing. So we're going to go ahead and build a new token, like a new platform. It's not going to be Enigma now, which was a layer 2 on Ethereum. This is going to be its own layer 1. We're going to have more teams, more work. But if the Enigma team was to go over to them, then everybody who had Enigma was going to lose all of their money. Like, there was no way that you can't just sell all these tokens. Like, that people are scared to liquidity provide for it. People don't want to touch it. People don't know what to do. They don't want litigation to come against them. So the community created a minting process that we called the swap, ENG to SCRT swap, where you can, however many of these ENG tokens you burn, you get a 1-to-1 ratio of this new SCRT token. So now, instead of everyone who owned Enigma just having their value go to 0, now people had the opportunity to get involved in this new platform that the Enigma team was still going to help build. And the Enigma team couldn't start it. They couldn't operate it. So this was entirely community driven. They didn't know the legalities of it. It was incredibly risky. They didn't, eventually, once it was live and people were moving it over, we didn't know how long to keep it open. So we had been broadcasting it for 6-7 months, and then it was open for 4 or 5 months. So people had 1 year to know about, and it was broadcast from Twitter, Rocket Chat, Discord, Reddit, 4chan, everywhere they possibly could have. Like, hey, like, you guys need to do this. And then eventually, once it was done, we voted as a community to close it. The people who were running it didn't want to keep running it. It was expensive and it was scary from a litigation standpoint, that they're like, we don't want to assume this risk anymore. And then a lot of the people who invest in the token were worried that since Enigma was able to get a decent amount of starting secret tokens, that they didn't want them to also do a swap and kind of use this as a double ICO. So we voted as a community to close it.
Okay. It's important for people to know this.
Yeah. Because people have resurfaced and they've said that, oh no, like, you guys scammed us and ours went to 0. You guys pulled the rug. There was no rug pull. Enigma team didn't sell. They couldn't sell. Their hands were tied. Their Enigma tokens went to 0 too. Right. You left your tokens on Bittrex. We reached out to Bittrex. Binance facilitated the swap. We don't know why Bittrex didn't, why they still have ENG listed. But like, we did everything we could. It's either, so 85% of the tokens were swapped and most of the rest were on Bittrex or their Enigma teams. And it really comes down to, do all of the tokens lose their value, or do just those who have been ignoring the progress of this token for 1 year's coins go to 0? Either way, those people's tokens were going to go to 0. It's just, do they have an escape or not?
Right. See, I think it's important because a lot of people just look at the appearance of reality as opposed to reality. And so they'll just hear someone say something funny and they'll be like, the whole thing's terrible. Look what happened there. But if someone were to actually go in, do a little digging with an open mind, it would be a little bit different. And they would see all the risks and all the money that was behind this. And I still do think it's important to make sure that people who did kind of lose out, they get a little compassion too and say, hey, I get it. That kind of stuff happens. And I'm glad it wasn't me it happened to, that's for sure. But it does happen. But I think for Secret to go ahead and move forward, to have like the best will, it would be just to be cool about it, understand, talk about it like you're doing now. And I think that would attract the most amount of people. Because
and you guys can talk to us in the Discord or the Telegram. We know what happened, and it does suck for those that were on that end of it. But there were no better options. We were put in that situation because of the SEC. Like, our hands were tied. We did what we could as a community. I have no affiliation with any actual secret teams. I'm not a paid member. I got a grant to start a podcast, but I'm just a community guy in the Telegram hanging out. I'm just an investor myself. And like, we had to move forward or we all just lose everything. And the world goes forward without this technology being built because we were the only ones trying. Yeah. And that would be unfortunate.
And in terms of the actual project of Secret, I've never heard anything bad about that. I've only heard FUD in regards to the swap, really. But in terms of what Secret's trying to do in the future, all I've heard is great things. And all I've heard is all the potential possibilities that are out there, which really are endless. And right now, especially, like, it's on Binance, but it's not on all these other exchanges, right? It's not on KuCoin. It's not on Coinbase. It's not on Binance US. There's so many places that it's not yet. So the people who are in it right now, it really is so early for them. I think the market cap is around 80 million right now, and they just had a 20% spike just today. So that was pretty good. And it's super early. So I think I'm very hesitant to say something that could be life changing, but it has the potential to be life changing for people if they get enough money in there.
And we've seen a lot of life changing in this industry. And just the
Sure.
fact, like, if we are right, and this is the next evolution of blockchain, and this is what makes it pragmatic and reaches out to industry, right now, only 1% of people even have exposure to Bitcoin, like an actual using this kind of stuff. If we get to that 70, 80, 90% where it's taking over business, I mean, I consider this very similar to the dot-com bubble when I was really young then, but when there are tons of new things and this is making tons of money, and which of these pet stores is going to win out the cyber pet store business, and none of those really matter. I think so many things are solving problems that don't exist or solving problems that might exist, but in impractical ways that won't be sustainable. And so we will see lots of things go to zero, and we will see the things that come out on the other side, like the Amazon and the Facebooks and whatnot, be far more successful than anybody's ready for. If Secret Network goes from this thing with less than 10,000 regular users or around that number to being used by billions, the exponential growth would be absolutely mind-bending.
To me, I'm super excited to be where I am with it right now because I've never been involved in a coin that had this low of a cap. There's a couple other ones that were around this area, but man, the sky could be the limit with this. But another thing I've been seeing that's going to be coming up soon is IBC. Maybe you could explain a little bit about what's going on with that.
So I'm not a developer, but especially with my podcast and talking to developers, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about it. And so from my understanding, what IBC is, this platform, by the way, built by Cosmos and related to the Atom token, is a way of talking between blockchains for anything connected to IBC, to the Cosmos ecosystem. And for right now, it enables stuff like Osmosis, where we can, and decentralized exchange, where we can actually send tokens to different blockchains from their actual blockchain. But it's really like a conversation channel between blockchains, which could potentially in the future enable cross-platform smart contracts. So say something where like Akash is connected, which is a decentralized cloud, and DVPN is connected, which is a decentralized VPN, and Secret's connected. And maybe we can put in a contract in Secret that affects how DVPN is triggered, all broadcast across the cloud. Like all of these platforms can interact and still use their normal tokens and still use their actual networks, not have to use a bridge, not have to have it all in one platform. What if we can use games or whatnot across multiple platforms? And I don't think we're there, but this kind of stuff can start being talked about as a possibility.
So it actually reminds me a little bit about Link. Like Link is an oracle. And I'm not sure if you know much about Link. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but Link is an oracle that connects blockchains. Is that what Link does?
I don't know enough about it. I know that it is an oracle, and right now the forefront oracle in the crypto space, I'm really excited about Band personally because they're working on Secret Oracle building with us. But think of an idea of like a Google or kind of a search system base that still accesses this data and could even work with private data. Or if you mentioned BAT earlier, basic attention token, how the internet could, what they're doing right now, where they don't steal your data but still offer you marketing and you get paid for it, where you can, there are lots of neat combinations of what you can do with oracles on decentralized platforms while still letting users keep their data. So Link's exciting. I'm personally excited for Band.
I got you. Because I was going to say that the way you described IBC was reminding me about Link, and I was going to try to see if you knew what the difference was between the two, but like I don't know the difference either. So who am I to say anything? But I want to circle back again because I don't think we touched on this. But liquidity providing. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what that does, why it's beneficial, why it's a better return than staking for most people, what impermanent loss is, that kind of thing.
Awesome. So yeah, staking, I mentioned you earn 26% right now, and it comes from the inflation of the blockchain, and you have the 21-day lockup period. But there's no actual risk with staking. You're just securing the blockchain, and you're earning that section of inflation. Now you can get higher rewards, but also incur risk or have to have more tech-savvy know-how or put in more effort through liquidity providing, which I mentioned earlier about a decentralized exchange, there has to be an order book. There has to be somebody to buy and sell from. You can't just swap Bitcoin and Ethereum into the Ether. There has to be Bitcoin and Ethereum there to purchase. And so as a liquidity provider, you're taking two assets and you're being like, here, you can buy from this with the other one, and you can buy from this with the other one. And right now you're being rewarded with that CeFi token, the governance token for the secret swap exchange. And I know Sienna is coming out as well, which will be another decentral, I believe, might not just be a DEX, but it should be a lending platform, and ideally with a fiat gateway, which would be really cool. So I'm hoping to get some release there soon. But pretty much, aside from that, you're offering these two assets. You're pretty much taking the losing side of every trade, but you're getting 0.3% of that trade as a fee. And then right now, the reason it's more profitable than staking, because the volume's not great right now, but it's because you're also being rewarded in CeFi inflation as that governance token, which you can sell or you can use on the chain as governance to help enact more value capture for the CeFi token, to be able to have authority on how that changes, on how rewards are set up.
Okay.
So the risk for it, you mentioned impermanent loss, is if one of the assets goes to zero, you're going to end up with only that one. If one of the assets goes to the moon, you're going to end up with the other one. Like, you're going to take the losing side of every trade to a point where if they are very disproportionate, you would have been better off just holding your assets separately. That being said, if they are proportionate, you just keep earning fees, plus you're earning pretty substantial rewards anyways. So I recommend only liquidity providing with two assets that you believe in, so that you wouldn't be sad ending up with more of one than the other.
I got you. So in order to liquidity provide, you got to have equal amounts of both tokens, whatever you're going to try to provide liquidity for? Or
Right now, yes. So there are future, in different dexes, there are future iterations. We are a version 1 dex where, yes, you have to have an equal dollar amount of both. And as you check your dollar amount, your balance of both is still split 50-50. So even as the pool shifts one direction or the other, your actual amount of coins that you own is shifting in one direction or the other. But you keep an equal dollar amount of both tokens.
Cool. So I think it's good to be able to explain that to people, what staking is, what liquidity providing is, just to show them like what the possibilities are, what the risks are, etc. And I think that's a good breakdown, because I've never heard it broken down that way before you've told me. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that didn't know fully what all that stuff was. But two more things I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Sienna. I don't know too much about Sienna, but what are they trying to do?
I'm hoping to actually get one of them on my podcast pretty soon. So I'd love to learn more directly from them, and I don't want to misrepresent them. Okay. But from what I understand, they're trying, like the team has a lot of experience in actual, like, in big economy stuff, like with marketing firms and whatnot. And their goal is to have a fiat gateway, a good user experience, DeFi applications, and just, yeah, everything that you can offer on any of the other pristine DeFi sites, or Ethereum or Coinbase or whatnot. Get all of that built on secret networks so that you can protect the users, which isn't being done on any of the other platforms. We're getting a comment right now about staking derivatives. That's sure. Also, can I talk about that for a little bit?
Absolutely.
So an idea of staking derivatives would be, like, right now we have that 21-day lockup, so you can't do multiple things with a token. But from what I understand it right now, which is exciting, is you could have potentially liquid staking, where you can have your token staking and working on the network, but also have it like a representative token, kind of like a bridged SNP20 token, like a secret Ethereum or something, but like a secret DX, like a derivative secret, which proves that that token is staked, but you can still use that representatively on liquidity provision or something else. That way you can still have the secure ecosystem, you can still have the high bondage rate, but then you can still be actively doing stuff with your money and getting involved in applications.
I didn't know that either.
I've heard about that coming out. It should be new, and once it is built, everything is built on secret network. I'm one of the first to try it out and try to get it figured out and understand it as well as I possibly can. So hopefully I'm representing it well, but I'll have more info on it once it's actually live.
So do you know what the limitations of staking derivatives are? So, like, is there a point where can't you use it anymore? Because right now, the way staking is, you can use it for nothing, right? It's stuck. You gotta stake it for 20. It's an unlocking period of 21 days. But with staking derivatives, you would still be able to liquidity provide with it. And what's the other thing you said?
I believe those are all things that are possible. I'm not the expert on it, but I think just in general, you'll be able to actively use representation of the stakes token, so you can maintain the high bondage rate, the the lower inflation, the security of the network, while still getting better usage and yield and involvement with your money with DeFi and everything else.
I don't see any downsides to that. Being able to do more things with your stake tokens, that's always going to be good. So what kinds of things are you looking forward to coming up here with Secret? Like maybe you could talk a little bit about their future timeline, things that you're looking forward to, things that are on the horizon.
So imminently is the Monero bridge. I'm really excited for a very strong, very large other community that cares about user privacy and security and is concerned about the implications of immutable blockchains and all the data being public. I'm excited to give them the opportunity to get involved in DeFi, to get involved in lending and yield farming, liquidity providing, all this cool stuff that's being done on Secret Network in a way that preserves their privacy, where they don't have to dox themselves to get involved. And I'm also excited to get the people that are involved in Secret Network and in that community a secure way and a safe bridge to go across if they want to liquidate or change their portfolio or whatnot, a safe onboarding through the Monero bridge, because now we could buy secret Monero and trade regular Monero. So that's going to be cool. But as far as actual platform changing stuff, I'm super excited about a launch pad, which is apparently in the works. And we've had some discussions about it on the forum. But this would be like similar to Polkastarter or anything else, like an ICO platform for projects to fundraise that, based on the current iteration, would also be a supply sink where we'd actually end up burning some secret and CFI and whatnot, so to lower supply and to create demand. So people have to like buy that in order to participate, in order to get this new token that's coming out. And yeah, it should be good for the price. And I'm excited about some of the projects that might be being built. I know of one that I had to bleep out on my show if you check out the Secret Code podcast, but some cool stuff's being built. And also with the Terra Bridge, I talked about Luna a little bit, but if we can get Mirror Protocol, which allows people to trade reflexive assets, like allows people to trade stocks and whatnot on decentralized trading platforms, if we can get that on a privacy preserving exchange, where now we're trading Tesla stock or whatnot on Secret Swap, or even at least representative, like that kind of stuff. Like that stuff's done on FTX, but not with privacy. But that kind of stuff can be possible on Secret Swap with that bridge. That would be very cool, because I'm a firm believer that our current iteration of NASDAQ exchanges, where they're open on Monday to Friday with 9 to 5, whereas crypto's 24/7, like we're in the digital age. We don't need everybody there in person holding their actual paper instead of doing everything on their computers 24/7. It doesn't make sense. Right. So I think that the entire stock exchange will eventually be on crypto platforms. And why not Secret Swap?
Oh, why not indeed? Why not indeed? I didn't know that's what they were planning on doing. I've seen Luna's been mooning lately. Like I know it was like $6 just last week. And I looked the other day and it's $15. And I saw they were doing this Mirror Protocol, and I didn't know what that was, but you just explained it. So that's what that is, and that's what possibly they could be doing with it, trading stocks on something like Secret Network. That's pretty awesome.
I'm not sure if it would be like provably like tokenized stocks or if it would just be representative stocks, but I mean, either way, it could be done. And that's the kind of stuff that we can build to include.
Wow. See, when you talk about it like that, you really begin to see like the possibilities and the things that could be one day. Now, like right now where Secret is, how long do you think it would take for it to kind of become like matured as a space? Do you have any timelines on that?
I mean, matured as a space or matured in price? Because I think that this is one of
Not
the
price.
More mature prices.
Okay.
Because I mean, we've seen a lot of things break the top 100 or the top 20 that are new projects, as in been around for a year or 2 years, and they're still in the ideation stage. And Enigma had a higher market cap for quite a while back before any of their products actually worked. And now we have our own layer one. We have, like, people didn't know if we could make privacy preserving smart contracts, and now they're default and we use them. So I'm not, I think that Secret Network is far more mature than it's given credit for, and that's because it's not on page one of CoinGecko. And right. Once the price is reflective, once it's $40, $50 or more, people will be like, oh yeah, no, this is really a blue chip tech, because I believe it is. I think it's a blue chip tech. I think it's a blue chip team, and that we're far more mature than we get credit for because of the price.
No, exactly, because they actually have things going for them. Like we mentioned before, Doge that has pretty much nothing going for them. I hear people say similar things about ADA, where everyone always says they don't even have a working project yet. They're number six, and so I think it confuses people about what's going to actually be good one day. And I'm always curious to see like what a practical world use case would be for the programmable private smart contracts. So just to throw something out there, say maybe you're in supply chain, or say maybe you're just a corporation. What kinds of examples of transactions or like private smart contracts do you think could be out there? Like what is some of the potential use cases? Do you know of any?
I mean, they are infinite, and I'm not an expert on it. I know we have, I think, Discord pages set up with a lot of these ideas. One that I think might have actually been built was a way of tracking vaccination status and to see if people have been exposed to coronavirus, because you can't do something like that, or at least you shouldn't do something like that, if you have to actively give your name and vaccination status and location to a way that everybody else can access it. What if like an Uber's built, a decentralized Uber that people can, it would be much more efficient without the Uber company making all the money, and with the drivers getting more percentage of their money and being able to, I don't know. Everything's more efficient if it's truly decentralized, if you don't have a huge company that's trying to do everything for their stockholders. It's harder to build decentralized, but it's more efficient once it is built. And if a decentralized Uber was to exist, not on Secret Network, then everybody would know where you're going, where you live, when you're out of your house, your patterns and whatnot. And that's super scary and not safe. NFTs, artists, musical artists are using NFTs now for everything because it's hard for musicians to value capture on their product. So that's a way of offering provable ownership. But we know that the subscription model is so much more profitable for companies than one-time purchases. So with secret NFTs, which already exist, you can offer access control. So instead of just giving people your public or your private key, you can actually like give privatized, like masked access to a private key, so they can't just share it to all their friends the same way we do with Netflix passwords. And that way you can get monthly subscriptions where it's just, there's so many cool things that will work so efficiently built on Secret Network that won't anywhere else.
Okay. It's always fascinating to me to hear the possibilities, like I said, of the real world use cases, because I've struggled to come up with them in my own mind. Like I know there was another project, VChain, that corporations have partnered with them, Walmart, DNV, GL, and I kind of understood their use case. And the use case was they're going to track goods, right? They're going to track it, put a little chip in there so you can see it along the whole route. Mm-hmm. And, they had a great year this year. But at the same time, like VChain as a company, they're not really making money, right? They burn VTHO, and that's technically their revenue, I guess. But I don't think they're like making money like a company would. And I kind of think, and this is kind of off the base here, but in crypto in general, like, will there be ways for cryptos to actually bring in revenue and make profit? Or would it always just be kind of just as it is now, where it's speculation and people put money into things because the possibilities that are going to be there? But do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, there are ways, that is important. And it is weird with most crypto not actually being stock and in a company. Yeah, I saw our comments just kind of get spammed. But
yeah, awesome.
But yes, one thing I'm actually talking about right now with a lot of the community in CeFi is value capture mechanisms for the CeFi token. And one of the methods that we might put to governance based on the feedback I get is the potential for a buyback and burn. And so what that would do is say the 0.3% of fees that go to, and none of this has gone through yet, these are all just an ideation stage, but the 0.3% of fees that go to liquidity providers for those incentivized pools of the people that are also getting rewarded in CeFi, then they only get 0.25%, and that other 0.05 of the fees goes to actually purchasing CeFi and burning it. So not only does it lower the supply, which we talked about secret being inflationary, CeFi has a maximum supply of 1 billion tokens. And so after another 3.5 years, we'll be at that max supply, and it could eventually actually be a deflationary currency. And while people are like, oh, that might just be a quick way of raising the price with a little bit of buyback volume, but it adds buy pressure and it doesn't add sell pressure because the tokens are burned and not redistributed. And as far as inherent value goes, if somebody ends up as the one person that owns the rest of CeFi, then everything will not only could they govern it and change it, but based on that iteration, they would earn the profits of 0.05% of all of the volume, which is like literally ownership of that value. That money would have to buy their CeFi from them. They could set the price at whatever they want. It doesn't matter if they own all of it because it's going to be burned anyways. And they literally own that. So for every $1 million of volume, they get $500. If there's a couple $100 million of volume a day, like that's just straight income. That is inherent value for the CeFi token distributed amongst the CeFi holders. And that's just one idea. There are many, many more ways of actual provable value capture. And since there is no company, no team, that would go directly to the owners of these digital assets.
Okay. I asked that question because I know there's a lot of crypto skeptics. That's the question they ask me. They'll say, when are these companies going to be making revenue? When are they going to be making profit? And I never had a good answer. So I was hoping, and I was glad you had a better answer than me, because I think the more people see that, the value capture, as you said, the more people that will come into the crypto space. Because I think people in the space right now, we take for granted that we think it's going to be the future. But there's still a lot of people that don't think that. They still think it's a scam. They think it's just like the tulips back in Holland, and that's still what they say. I think they're missing the boat. But it's good to remember, I think there's still people like that they just don't trust it. It's new. They only trust what Vanguard's going to tell them. They only trust what, Charles Schwab's going to tell them,
It's difficult for a lot of people to process provable ownership in ways that are not tangible. And so when they think of the dollar, they're like, well, I can hold the dollar. But the issue is, high estimates suggest that 4 to 6% of dollars are actually in print. But the dollar is over 90%, and I think it's much higher than that, a digital currency already. There are not greenbacks to back the amount of dollars in circulation. And if you believe dollars are real, which I think they're far less valid than a Bitcoin or something else, then you should be able to make that leap. And you don't have to, there are stages. You don't have to believe that Bitcoin's going to be the future global reserve currency. I personally, I haven't seen enough to make that leap. I know it's possible, and the fact that it is possible is huge already, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. There's still tons of time to be played out.
Sure.
But the fact is, these assets do exist. There is a new asset class, which hasn't necessarily been defined as such yet, of digital owned items with utility, of new currencies that are not directly attached to governments, although we are seeing Bitcoin be adopted by other countries, and they need to be treated as such. And I recommend that everybody learn what they can about them, because this does exist. It's not a fad. It's not going away. The world goes from less efficient to more efficient until there are giant world-shaking events that reset things. But this is a next step in technology, and that's not just going to go away arbitrarily.
Absolutely. Even the dollar, it's just a promise to pay. And it's not even backed by gold anymore. Ever since 1972, there is no more gold standard. So it's like, to me, the crypto money, it's just as legitimate as what they would call fiat currency, right?
Yeah. If you look at the dollar objectively, it doesn't pass most of the tests that you're hoping for with these digital currencies. It's got one group that can print it kind of at their will. The Federal Reserve, which is not federal nor reserve, it has inflation that can change all the time without necessarily people voting on it. Like we control our own inflation rate with our own provably authentic votes. Who controls the Fed? Voting for a president, who does that? The presidents that try to audit it, Abraham Lincoln,
Minucci.
JFK, it doesn't go great. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't know. But from an objective perspective, the dollar is not the most sound currency it could be.
No, absolutely not. So there's one thing actually I don't think we addressed yet, though, was a secret token. So secret or secret Ethereum. What is the point and purpose of that? Because I think, especially people who are not familiar with Secret Network, they want to know, well, what the heck is this? What's a secret Ethereum? What's a secret?
So secret tokens are our versions of tokens built on Ethereum. So there are SNP 20s, and there have been upgrades. Now there's SNP 21, SNP 22s. but they're the equivalent of ERC-20s built on Ethereum, where you can make smart contracts to create these new fungible tokens that are based on the team. Usually they're raised for ICOs or whatnot, but they can interact on that ecosystem. So you can send any of the ERC-20 tokens to the same Ethereum address and they're going to show up there because there's smart contracts there. Now, what's special about the Secret Network smart contracts is that they're private by default. So now these SNP20 tokens are going to have privacy preserving they're going to have privacy preserving traits, and that helps secure the data for the users. But they're all going to show up on the same Kepler address under your secret network. As we get new wallets, like I believe Secret Nodes is making a secret wallet that will be secret specific.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to cover that some more pretty soon.
Okay.
But they hopefully will get more involved with showing NFTs and mobile wallets and whatnot. And it's going to show all of these smart contracts, these smart contract tokens on Secret Network. And so if you want to use the bridge and you're wrapping secret in, or wrapping Ethereum in secret and have secret ETH, now you're having a representative secret token that interacts with secret that has privacy preserving traits, and they all work together. On Secret Swap, they're pretty much all like you're going to be using different SNP20s interacting, and whether they're pegged. I mean, Ethereum does the same thing. Wrapped secret is not secret that's interacting on Ethereum. It's an ERC-20. It is a fungible representative ERC-20 token. Like it's like using casino chips. Like you trust that a red chip's going to be worth $5 because you know the casino does that. But the codes are open source smart contracts. You can prove that you're going to have that $5 value, like that when you wrap up your secret token, that your secret's not gone, that they're not spending it or whatnot, that you can trade your wrapped secret back for secret.
Sure. So we have a question here. What is gas fees? So how would you describe or explain what gas fees are?
So Bitcoin really was revolutionary in that they created transfer of value, and they were able to foresee lots of issues with previous distributed ledger attempts or digital cash attempts. And one of the issues is, because this is all taking energy and processing power and whatnot, is you need the ability to not have the system get spammed. And so by creating gas fees that not only incentivize the miners to process the transactions, it makes it cost money to spam and bog down the network. So Bitcoin uses Bitcoin for gas, and it goes to the miners. Ethereum uses Ethereum, and all of the projects that are based on Ethereum use Ethereum for gas. Secret Network is its own layer one. Anything built on it uses Secret for gas. So if you're trading C5 for Secret Binance on Secret Swap or whatnot, to operate the transaction, you have to pay secret and gas. If you're using Altermail or whatnot, one of the new email platforms that's being built on Secret Network, or Fardals, which is a new social media that's being built on Secret Network. If you're using all of these, you have to spend secret and gas. And the more things that get built, the more demand for secret, because people have to have the transactions go through and have to pay the gas to do it. So it's a way of making sure the network doesn't get spammed, but it also works from a tokenomic perspective of increasing demand for the layer one currency, because the goal of this isn't for everything to use Secret Network directly, but more to build decentralized applications that are made pragmatic. So teams can come and build their own thing, start their own company, and they're made pragmatic from the technology in Secret Network. And the more things that get built, increase demand for the secret token, because that's what operates it.
And I think this is one of the advantages of Secret over Ethereum, because people are always complaining about how expensive it is right now for Ethereum to be used.
Yeah. And that's part of the process of, as the demand goes higher than the supply. But what we've talked about already with Secret is, since it's a higher inflation and the validators are already getting commission and from the delegated proof of stake instead of just proof of stake, is that we're seeing that there's much more likely validators to work together to keep the gas fees low and keep it more usable, which, yeah, we'll see as we get there.
So another question I just thought of that you reminded me of, front-running resistance. What exactly is that concept?
All right, so front-running is the idea of stealing somebody's information and kind of using it for your economic gain before it goes through. So we might have seen it recently with a GameStop thing, everything going on with GameStop and Citadel and Robinhood, if you guys have been following that drama, where a bunch of Redditors from the Wall Street's Bet Wall Street Bets subreddit got together and kind of like, we're going to short squeeze and work together because we see that all these other investment firms have over 100% the short, or over 100% the circulating supply in shorts. And so they all bought it and they squeezed it. But as people are using Robinhood, which has 0 fees, Robinhood is wiring the information from your buy and sell to Citadel next door with tons of servers. And so when you click buy, it hasn't actually gone through yet. The signal for you to buy has gone through. That gets wired through Citadel. They see, oh, he's buying this. We're going to buy it first, and then we're going to sell it to him 0.2% higher. So while you're not paying fees, you're actually still paying that difference.
Sneaky bastards.
Yeah, but
people don't know that.
While people aren't supposed to be doing that in the first place, it's so much easier to do on public blockchains like Ethereum. So when people are using Uniswap and they put in a buy order and they spend, say, $20 in gas, people have these bots set up where they read, okay, he's buying $100,000 of OMG. Well, we're going to buy it first, and then we're going to add it to the pool, so then they have to buy it from us at a higher rate. And there's a maximum amount of slippage, but they try to get it as close to that maximum as possible. And since they know what you're paying in gas, they just pay a higher gas rate, which incentivizes the miners to process their transaction through first. And so now when you were going to spend $100,000 and you were going to buy, I don't know, 1,200, now you're just getting 1,100. And the extra Ethereum's being processed and going to the people who are doing this.
Right.
And I think to this point, $1.4 billion has been extracted through miner extracted value, MEV, this front running just on the Ethereum network. That's from people like you and me. That is substantial.
That's huge.
That can't be done on secret network because people can't query that book. People don't have access to that information. Even the nodes themselves, they cannot see who's buying what in real time.
Right. And to reiterate also, Uniswap, Secret Swap is basically Secret's version of Uniswap, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just because I know people, they know more about Uniswap. People who are familiar with the space, they know Uniswap. But to think of it as Secret Swap is our version of that, I think it's helpful.
And guys, if you want to check it out and read up on it, go to secretswap.io. And you could download a Kepler wallet from the Kepler extension store. It's great. And even if you just bridge over Ethereum the first time, they'll even give you 0.75 secret to help cover gas, so you can actually buy secret and switch it yourself at the Kepler dashboard from secret to actual secret to be used for gas.
Right. So you also just mentioned slippage. As far as I know, like lower cap coins, for example, they have problems with slippage because there's not always going to be someone selling the amount of the coin you want to buy. And so you might have to buy it as a different price. Is that basically your definition of slippage too?
So slippage it definitely has to do with like how much you're affecting the percentage of the price based on how much liquidity is available. So if you're placing a large buy order and there's not a lot of liquidity available, you are going to actively move the price. But slippage itself is how much they say you're going to get between how much you actually get. So when they're like, you're expected that you're going to spend 2.3 ETH, you're expected to get so much Covel, and then you go through it and then you actually get less. They'll set a minimum amount that you can receive in case there is slippage, in case somebody else is buying it at the same time, in case somebody else is pulling their liquidity at the same time. But it's really that difference between what you're expecting to buy and what you actually receive. And
the difference that gets eaten up by gas fees, or people that are more front running it and they get in there before you?
To my understanding, the actual slippage has to do with other people that are doing the same thing as you. So whether it's front running, somebody else buying at the same time, somebody pulling liquidity, something like that.
Okay. And so I guess we can start wrapping up towards the end here, but so you have your podcast. Maybe you could tell the audience here where they can find you.
So guys, we have the Secret Code podcast. Like I said, we've been up for a month. You can find us on any podcast platform, Spotify, just search for Secret Code Podcast. And I'm actively every week having core contributors from the ecosystem on the show. It's been awesome getting to hear their perspectives, and we're really branching out. We're getting people from all aspects, so there should be something from everybody. We're trying to get everybody to learn something, to not only learn the voices and the people and their perspectives, which has really been exhilarating for me. Just I enjoy it from a content perspective, let alone being the one getting to interview them. But I'm also at the same time getting to kind of give them questions and little game shows and whatnot about aspects of the secret ecosystem that they haven't been familiar with. And I've stumped a couple of them. So it's it's really been very fun, just kind of bringing a cohesive magnifying glass on the ecosystem as a whole. And we'll be up on YouTube, I believe today, actually. So if you search for Secret Code on YouTube, we don't have any videos up yet, but we will later today. And it's still going to be like pretty much the audio with a picture background, but we have a cool little intro transition made by Julian from Secret Underground. He runs his own node, and he's part of the design committee. And we have an awesome logo made by Cryptic Pixie, also part of the design committee. So we've been really trying to get involved with everyone we can in the ecosystem and bring content. We made our first article a couple weeks ago about the implications of privacy preserving voting. And we're just, however much content we can produce, just want to get more of the secret ecosystem out to the audience.
Cool. So whatever links you'll send later, I can put them in the description. I can put them in the comments too. But two more things before we end here. One, what is the most exciting part about Secret Network to you right now? What makes you most excited about what it could do?
To me, what's most exciting is it's a chance at a revolution. It's an opportunity for us to steal back what our data, what never should have been taken from us from the first place. It's a chance for us to reclaim our digital autonomy. And like back in 2017, when they started the Enigma Ambassadors program, I wanted to join. And I'm not a developer, and I didn't know how I could help at the time. But one of the things I told them is, I think that this technology, I think that this team is going to change the world for the better. And I just want to be a part of it any way I can, so that when my kids look back and what they will see, what they will grow up with as just normal and awesome and a functioning system, I can go back and be like, yeah, I was a part of that. Yeah, I helped, and have stories about it.
Yeah. I mean, you're already doing a great job with the podcast. You'll be on YouTube soon too. So you're certainly doing a lot to contribute for the community here. So if and when Secret does do well, you'll be a person that everyone should thank for doing your part. And last one here. I'd be remiss to not ask about any price predictions. I know Secret is 125 right now. CeFi, the token's 4 cents. What price predictions do you have? I know everyone's a sucker for a good price prediction.
So I'm not a financial advisor. I am invested with my own money. I've been saying Secret to $40 by the end of the year since last year, and I'm still holding to that. I think we'll get far more exposure, and as we get exposure, as people realize the value proposition, I think it's going to shoot up. And I think in the future, it's going to be more pragmatic than Ethereum. And we're not branded as an Ethereum killer. We're trying to help Ethereum accomplish things. Like, we're actually working with other platforms. We're not trying to just take over and it's us or the highway. But just, I think that everything that crypto is trying to solve is eventually going to need Secret Network. I think that the Secret token will be worth hundreds and thousands eventually or more. And the CeFi token, like, I think Secret Swap will take off, and we'll be able to do like so many more cool things and have more platforms involved in it, and we'll find more ways to capture value. And the CeFi token will be worth dollars and tens of dollars, and right now it's 4 cents. Right. So I think that we're all going to be sitting very pretty in the future, but I'm also more bullish than most.
Sure. Well, like you said, this is not financial advice, but if someone were maybe to listen and this does work, the viewers of the Radical Self-Respect channel here could all be doing pretty damn well for themselves at some point. So Secret, $1.25 right now. CeFi, 4 cents. And you said what? Dollars of CeFi? $40 of Secret?
If you compare it to Uniswap, then yeah, it'd be more than that. Like that.
I mean, but it's realistic though too. It's realistic, exactly, because right now I think the market cap of Secret's 80 million, and it's $1.25.
And the market cap of CeFi is like 10 million.
Right.
And that what it's offering is new, is exciting, is so much more than what Uniswap and other things are offering. Now they have more liquidity and name and like awareness, but I don't think that's always going to be the case.
Right. And so to get the $40, Secret would be 40x more of 80 million, which is 3.2 billion. And that's nothing for this space. Is that even in the top 50 right now, 3.2 billion?
I don't know. It's still lower than Atom and a lot of other things, which will still grow. Like Secret at $40 is going to be a steal. Secret at $40 is still going to be a great buy.
Oh, there it goes. Yep, that's what we're trying to do. And so 40x where it is now. I'm a big fan of dollar cost averaging. That's why I do it. I don't really do big chunks of money because when I have done that in the past, I've been burned But when I DCA, you get a little bit of all the prices.
Mhm.
And I think, and we didn't talk about this yet, but this cycle here, this bull cycle, I think is not over yet. I listen to Chico Crypto a lot. He's the only real crypto YouTuber I watch. And he's been constantly saying, July through August, there'll be sideways action, fall to the moon, fall Bitcoin to 100,000. And here's the thing about him. I may not agree with everything he says, but he's been spot on with all of his predictions. Because he basically just transposed it against the two previous Bitcoin halvings and was like, okay, this is what happened back in 2012. This is what happened back in 2017. And here we are in the same process right now. And if things go as they did, this fall here will be the last leg of the cycle. Now, I'm not sure if these cycles will continue this way. I'm not sure if there's going to be any more Bitcoin halvings or whatever. This might be the last one. This might be the last kind of manic phase like this, because once all this corporate money gets in there, institutional money, I'm not sure we're going to see these huge recessions anymore. We're not going to see these drawn out bear markets like we used to. But what do you think about that? I'm sorry we're continuing on. I'm coming up with more things to talk about.
This is awesome. I'm not a trade analysis specialist, but looking at the charts, I've been around since 2017. I lived that bull market and then the bear market following. I do think that the charts do look similar. And I've been saying the whole time we've dropped from 64,000 to 29, 30,000 the whole time. I'm like, this looks like the first movement of a much longer bull cycle. You've seen it every time where it goes up, it drops by usually 45 to 60%. This one was actually like the 60%, which is one of the bigger drops, but then it goes exponentially higher, which would have Bitcoin hitting 130, 150,000. So I think it's possible, especially as more countries consider it legal tender.
Yeah, I think El Salvador did that, or was it Ecuador? I think one of those two countries has made Bitcoin an official.
El Salvador did it first. Now there's talks about Paraguay and more countries in Africa. I know Nigeria's, after the U.S., Nigeria is the one that trades it and uses Bitcoin the most often. So it's getting massive adoption in third world countries, and it's first world countries that seem to be fighting it, like China and the U.S. But everyone else is looking to it as freedom. And which side of history would you like to be on?
Exactly. And I mean, like right now, with these big financial families, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, they're putting money into Bitcoin. They're putting money into Ethereum. And they just started doing that like this past year. And so I hear all these people getting bearish, like, oh no, we're going to be going down to 20,000 Bitcoin. But it's like, you think those guys would be putting their money in if they were really do you think they'd be selling now after they just put it in? Of course not. Of course they're not doing that. They put it in because they're there for a longer term period, I would think. They put it in because they expect it to go who knows how high later, right? Because you don't lose a dime in crypto until you sell.
These aren't people that make their money from short-term trades.
No, not at all. So, like, they wouldn't have done it. Like, if they didn't believe in the long-term efficacy of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and that money growing for them, they wouldn't have done what they did, I don't think.
And if they don't believe in it, then they are scared of it because it's also a hedge against everything that they've built. So
that part's true, but I think they're making sure they're going to profit as well, right? So they have their money there just in case. But I think they see the writing on the wall. Like, they might not like it, but it's coming, which reminds me of another point. Do you foresee any regulations coming into the crypto world right now? Because we're fairly regulation free. Some people argue there could be some good regulations that come along, but
I think
do you have any thoughts on that?
Regulations will come along, and it's weird with regulations coming along in different countries, whereas crypto is not stuck in any one country. Like, we've seen what they've done to China, and so now the mining power is going elsewhere, and companies are moving out of China. But Bitcoin's not just going to be stopped. You can't just ban Bitcoin and it's gone. Bitcoin's being mined on satellites on the moon. Like, you can't stop this technology. You can just try to keep it away from you. I think regulations are coming. I think regulations will actually help Secret specifically as they make regulations about data security and maybe try banning and blocking different applications that are built on non-privacy preserving blockchains, because they're not safe when you have to show forms of credit on immutable blockchains in order to take out loans. Eventually we'll have decentralized credit and whatnot. Like, I think that as this regulation comes out, while it might be short-term bad for crypto as a whole, as people get scared and shaken out and be like, oh, well, now they're going to stop us. Life makes a way. Technology makes a way. We're going to find ways to be more efficient. And I think Secret is positioned to be the ones that come out of that. Like there will be events that lead to most, or I believe most of these digital assets going to zero. They'll be shown unpragmatic or unprofitable or unsustainable and whatnot. And I think Secret specifically is positioned to come out of this Cambrian explosion on the other side, huge and just building.
Well, they call this what, like the third industrial revolution this could be? And it's so interesting to think about what this will look like here in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, how crypto will be integrated into probably almost everyday life by then. And the possibilities really are endless, and who knows what's going to happen with it. But I do believe in the space. I believe it's going to be here to stay. And it's just a matter of what will it look like? How will it play a part?
I think notaries will be gone. You'll have proven ownership through NFTs. I think that movie tickets and baseball tickets are all going to be NFTs, so people can't reprint them and sell you fake versions out front of the ballpark. Like I think this is literally going to be everything. Everything.
Yeah, I could easily see that happening too. And I know, like you mentioned NFTs before too. There was an NFT craze there for a minute. The craze has kind of seemed to die down, but like, what do you think are the benefits of NFTs and what they can do for people?
Far more than people are thinking right now. So I've been one of the reasons I got involved in Secret Network, and one of the things that really excites me about crypto as a whole is the use cases that can come and will come from NFTs. Right now they're being viewed as and looked at as art and collectibles, which is just one small use case. You can have NFT, like home ownership, be proven through NFTs, and then you can tokenize it and have distributed home ownership where people can invest in real estate without having to own a whole thing. And like taxation stuff will be difficult from this, but the proven ownership aspect of NFTs is phenomenal. Like not just what it can do with music and streaming services, but movie tickets where you have your seat. Like everything can be and will be NFTs because it's cheap, it's efficient, and it's provable ownership.
So you mentioned before helping out artists and people in music. So basically a musician or an artist would have their piece of art, whether it's a song or a painting, and they'll create an NFT to go along with it. And that would be the proof of ownership that they would sell to someone. And then they would the other person would have the NFT and then in turn have ownership of that piece of art. Is that how it works? Okay.
And so you can make a certain number of them, like you can make 10 of them, you can make 100 of them, you can make one of them, and you can prove that there's only that many. But then you can sell them and you can transfer that actual data and ownership together. So eventually, like right now it's going to be a lot of data, but eventually you can actually have the songs and everything like on the NFTs themselves. Like It's not just transferring access to them, but you can actually have that be part of the art, part of the token.
I see. And so a musician, they could technically create a limited amount of NFTs to drive up the value per se. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, just trying to wrap my head around all this stuff. There's so many things to wrap your head around here in this space that it can be overwhelming, but and I guess this might be a good place to end here. But the last thing would be, what would be your suggestions to people that are just coming into the space? Like, another thing too. I'm sorry, I keep on thinking of more. But like, what are your suggestions to people that are first coming into the crypto space? Like, how would you teach them to educate themselves on like what a good project is, etc.?
So as people come into the space for the first time, I recommend first trying to understand Bitcoin and how it changes our perception of money and our perception of the internet. Just watching YouTube videos on it, Googling it, reading everything you can, good, bad, every perspective you can on Bitcoin, and trying to understand what's actually happening, how it's not magic money, what's going through with the hashes, with the transactions, like what is being proven, how can it get around manipulation, and then try to have arguments against it. Try to be like, oh, well, this won't work because of this, and find your answers and ask people and search for those questions. Because from my perspectives, at least, all of these questions are answered. All of these were thought through. This wasn't the first attempt at digital money. This is just the first one that really works. And then once you understand what can be done with money, with value, then start looking into what can be done with everything else. Start looking into data marketplaces and just the value of data itself. Projects like Ocean, projects like Aave, with what it can do to the financial world and also just everything else. The opportunities are limitless because this is brand new technology. And then as you start understanding that, then I want people to start looking into Secret Network and thinking through what would it take for these projects to break out. So like to learn these projects, go through CoinGecko, like CoinGecko.com or CoinMarketCap.com, and pick 10 at a time and the top 10 coins or whatnot. Go to their websites, read through everything you can, read through their white paper, read through their documentation, and specifically look for what problem is the coin trying to solve? Is that problem something that's real that needs to be solved? And then is this coin, this team, solving this in a way that makes sense? Like, can they actually solve this problem in a way that can capture value? And if you're satisfied with all of those questions and whatnot, then you'll believe you have a good project and you can invest in it and you can get involved and you can go and build with them. You don't have to be a developer. You can learn to code, or you can get involved in content creation like I have. You can get involved in their telegrams and ask them questions and help them better think through things. And you can learn the whole way. It's been an excellent hobby that's now becoming a side gig for me, where I actually got a little grant and I might be able to make some passive income through my own node, hopefully eventually. But it's brand new, and why not be on the right side of history? Why not go do something that makes a difference?
So I know in the space here, we all talk about DYOR, do your own research. But I don't think that's enough for a lot of people because they don't know how to do their own research, which is why I asked you that question. And you also answered the next question I was going to have too, which is, how do you tell like a good project from a bad project? Like, what do you look for in that project to say, okay, this project has something going for it? Now, I believe in Secret, you believe in Secret, but I don't expect everyone to. Like, people can put their money wherever they want to. So if someone thinks that something else is going to be good, like, listen to what Eric said there about what makes a good project versus one that maybe is a little bit scammy. Are there any good like red flag indicators that you would point to and say, you know what, if you see a project talk about this might be a red flag here, or something that's not too good?
Sure. So as you research these projects, like, be aware there are a lot of scams in crypto. People are reaching out to you like, hey, we've got this mining platform that makes tons of money. Like, make sure that their Twitter handle is actually the correct one, because usually it's a scammer that's pretending to be somebody else that is just trying to get your coin. So don't send them to them, first of all. But actual full-on projects are scamming, where they raise tons of money and then they leave. Or they pull the rug. They withdraw liquidity and they vanish because they raised tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars and they're gone. Like, even if it's $100,000, like, they raised that money and they're disappeared and you can't find them. So be very cautious of platforms whose on their website, on their documentation, focus on price. Value capture for whatever your platform's trying to perform is important, but make sure they're focused on an actual problem and how to solve that problem, and not just how to create value out of nowhere, because value doesn't come from nowhere. But also do make sure that the value capture, like, if you're looking from an investment perspective, make sure that the value capture does make sense. I know one of the projects I've done research on is Ripple, and a lot of people are huge believers, and I'm a big fan of the tech and what it can do for intercontinental transfer of value and efficiency. My personal concern, and people can come to different results on their own, do their own research. My personal concern is that the XRP token currently does not capture the value of what Ripple can and will offer, which is, it's not stock in the company, and there is a Ripple company, and they can perform what they're hoping to perform without use of the XRP token. It can be useful in some of it, but the fact that it can succeed and you can still not make money from it is scary. And so, like, if Secret Network was in the case where Secret Network can change the world and can be used everywhere, but it doesn't actually capture value for the SCRT token, then what's the point of investing in it? Like, what if it solves this problem and is great for the world, but Secret's still at $1 in 10 years? Right. Like, that's not something you want to invest in. So do try to understand the tokenomics, but first make sure that it's a legit company that's solving something important.
I think what you just said there, I think that's actually going to be the case for a lot of projects, really, where they could succeed in doing what they want to do, but it might not necessarily correlate to a higher token price. And if we're going to be investing in things, I mean, that's what we're going to want. We're going to want a higher token price.
Mhm.
And I also think it's super important, like what you just said, because say someone's new to the crypto space and they stumble upon one of these rug pull type situations, it could really burn them and put a super bad taste in their mouth towards the whole industry. And we all know the saying in marketing where one unhappy person will tell 7 people, and it could hurt the whole crypto space the more of that kind of stuff happens. So I think it's super important to educate people on the potential of that, the possibility of that kind of thing being there. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that wind up in those spots, they're not aware. They don't know that's a possibility. They don't know the ins and outs. And those companies are just taking advantage of them, really. They know they're novices. There's going to be a lot of naive people that say, oh, this meme coin mooned, the dog coin mooned, the sex coin mooned. And so that's all it takes is a fancy name and something can go to the moon. But unfortunately, there are some unsavory folks in the space. But education is the antidote to that, which is why it's so important what you just said.
And unfortunately, a lot of people have to go through that loss in order to get the incentive, the fire burning under their butt to go learn. In my most recently released episode, I talked with Asaf Murami, who's one of the core developers for the Enigma team. And he talked about his first involvement was he got scammed because he tried to sell his Ethereum on PayPal for his wife. And PayPal, like the person who paid them, refuted the claim and PayPal sided with him. So he got scammed out of ZETH. Like that kind of stuff happens. One of my first investments was Bitcoin private, and there was a secret pre-mine that wasn't disclosed, and I didn't know enough to actually read the code and find out what was going on, but it was a huge scam, and so it didn't make sense from a trade analysis perspective, but I was new, and after going through that, it lit a fire into my butt to go and learn more and find out everything else that's going on. And a lot of people in 2021 might be having their first involvement with Dogecoin or Shiba Inu or SafeMoon, and some of them may be legitimate products and turn into something. I'm concerned with all of them. I think that their valuation is much higher than their value, but you have to get involved. You have to start learning somewhere, and sometimes losing money is what it takes.
Sure. I'm just glad that we're talking about that, because the more people we make aware, the more people we teach them how to do their own research, the less likely they'll be to fall into something like that, which is overall, of course, going to be much better for the space. So I guess wrapping up here, do you have any more final thoughts on a secret network or anything we talked about in general?
Not at this time. If anybody wants to reach out to me, you can follow me at Eric Weissenen on Twitter, or just download the Secret Code podcast on any of your podcast apps. And I'm really accessible on Telegram or Twitter, or email at secretcodepodcast@protonmail.com. And I'd love to talk with people about it and learn. And if you guys have any questions, just reach out.
Sure. And Secret has multiple Telegram channels, right? They got a Secret Market, Secret Network, Secret, what is the other one? Secret NFT, Secret Swap is there?
Dude, I find a new one every day, man. I'm trying to get involved in whatever ones I can. But there's communities for everyone. There's committees for everyone. Everyone can focus on their strengths and try to learn more about stuff that they're not involved in. And that's something I'm hoping to offer with my podcast.
All right. Well, hopefully we can have you back on here in the next 6 months to a year, and your $40 price prediction will have come true. And we'll come back here and say, hopefully you all listen to us at this time. Hopefully that's the podcast that will happen in the future. But again, thank you very much for coming on, Eric. It's been very informative. You've taught me a lot, and hopefully the audience has learned a lot too.
Jared, thanks for having me on the show. I love your channel. I love everything that you're bringing to your audience. It's all important, and it's great material. It's an honor to be here, man.
Thanks, my man. All right, guys. Over and out.